7 a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch. Today, the Morning Watch is brought to you by Ministry of Economic and Job Creation, achieving prosperity through partnership, economic growth, and sustainable development.
Jamaica, let us arrive alive. We know everyone has somewhere to be or someone to see. Whether you're going on a trip, headed to a party, running errands, getting gifts, or visiting family and friends. Arrive alive. Slow down. There's no rush. Look out for yourself and others. Don't let your life be a statistic. Too many Jamaicans are dying on our roads. So take time on the road. Arrive alive.
A message from the Office of the Prime Minister.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM, Facebook, and YouTube Live. In the main watch, abductions. And in the second watch, the church. Repairing minds in preparation for reparations. For our social media question we ask, what do you think is the role of the church in the call for reparations? Share your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes too. 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share a conversation on the program, but first is I quote. Well, Jakal, today's I quote that I see here is Quatty by trouble. £100 can't pay feet. Jukal, will you help us to unravel what that means, sir?
Not a problem. Good morning. So, today I quote, it says, Quatty by trouble, £100 can't pay feet. And the explanation is little blunders can cause us to find ourselves in situations so complex that we cannot extricate ourselves. So, Quatty by trouble, £100 can't pay feet. Have you heard this before? It's my first time hearing this one.
I have heard it before, but I have not heard it in a while. And
hearing this one.
I am telling you, the interpretation of it is so powerful.
Definitely.
Very real. Be careful of the trouble.
That you put yourself in the problem.
Be careful of the trouble that you get into. Okay, thanks for that, sir. The main watch will be back after this break.
He rebelled against God and was cast out of heaven. And ever since then, he's been causing mayhem. Who or what is this spirit and agenda? Don't miss The Rock with Bishop Harold Steve Blair and guest
Reverend Canon Garth Minot and Bishop Grace Addigold.
As they look at the topic, Satan. What makes him dangerous and why should we shun him? That's The Rock, Tuesday, March 28 at 10 a.m. right here on the family station Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesday inside Alive, 1 to 5, March 28, packed with inspirational stories and island-flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the brain-testing Menticize, the Listener's Speak Edition. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock, as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear part 2 of the life-changing testimony of Jahir from Muslim to Christian. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with marriage officer, justice of the peace, and pastor of the Port Maria United Church, Reverend Donald Williams. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. March 28th with me, Sarah, and the chirpy one on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Everybody feeling alive, got the spirit feeling alive. Get your healing on, come alive. Get that, whoa, juicy, at the shrimp patty, bro. Shrimp patty, whoa, careful, don't burn up your mouth. Juicy, I'll be shrimp patty. One bag of flavor, then fling panny. Love it, freshly baked, the flaky crust. Make me full me gut, the gas a bus. Shrimp patty, whoa. Juicy, of the flavor you love. Add cheese or color, whoa. Juicy, at the shrimp patty, bro.
A juicy have the shrimp patty you love. Get it today, island-wide.
Wayne, you know Flo Yardan Road now faster than ever?
Yeah, my virgin just get it.
Him love it, though.
Especially the 200 megabit speed and getting a Samsung tablet or phone for $999 plus GCT. You know you got the phone?
So, you coming home now?
Right after I pass the board.
There's never been a better time to get the invaluable value of Flo Yardan Road. Sign up and get fiber fast internet at home, unlimited social, YouTube, talk and text for just $4,999 plus GCT. And save big on a Samsung phone or tablet. Conditions apply.
Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
Seniors, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is advising that the March 2023 payment under the Social Pension Program is now ready for collection. Check your text messages to confirm your payment arrangements. For further information, call 876-922-8007 or check the Ministry's website at www.mlss.gov.jm. The Social Pension Program, caring for our elderly. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Thanks for staying with us. St. Catherine is reported to have topped the country in abductions. No, this is from a study that was led by Paul Bourne in collaboration with Dennis Brooks and Vivian Quarry. Who are the victims, that is the abductees, and why St. Catherine? What makes St. Catherine unique? We have on the line this morning to discuss this Stacey-Ann Smith, Associate Counselling Psychologist, Founder, CEO, Pursued International Foundation, and Paul Bourne himself, Acting Director of Institutional Research at NCU. Paul Bourne, Stacey-Ann Smith, good morning.
Good morning to your listeners.
Good morning, listeners as well.
Now, this is a very concerning matter. How is a study like this conducted, first of all, Mr. Bourne?
Okay, now we got data from the JCF, and they have been collecting data on various things relating to crime. So it was given to me by none other than Dennis Brooks. So we're analyzing the data to sort of see what is going on in Jamaica, and we're providing person with information for them to use to make better decisions on the matter.
And having gotten the data and having analyzed it, what were some of the things that jumped out at you?
One such thing is we are seeing a 43% reduction in abductions in 2022, which is lovely. But in the good, there are some bad. And one is 93% of the abductions are females. And 56% of those cases are persons who are 10 to 19 years old. St. Catherine account for 1 in every 4 abductions in Jamaica, particularly South St. Catherine, which account for 14% of the cases. And we see particular days when a number of these abductions occur. These abductions occur on a Wednesday, the middle of the week, Friday, the end of a school week, and on a Monday. So there are some particular days that we are seeing these abductions going on, and most of the abductions are done by taxi men.
And most of the abductions are done by, what is the evidence that it is by taxi men?
Well, don't forget that the police get information, and the police is primarily responsible for investigating issues. So when they tell us what is happening, that is a fact.
Based on information that they have gathered.
And also remember that a number of the abductees speak to the police as to what happened.
I am wondering if some of the persons being described as taxi men are really taxi men using taxis, but that's another conversation. Any comments on that?
I would agree with you, because a number of these persons, when they were asked, do you know these taxi men, they normally say no, they don't. So it could mean that someone does actually take a car and say there's a taxi man to actually do whatever DD wants to do.
Yes, and these abductees are familiar with the taxi routes, and they would have an idea, or they'd be familiar with the faces of the taxi drivers.
Absolutely, and they're saying that they are not in most cases.
Yes, I just wanted to know if, well, this topic is not an easy one to do. Stacey-Ann Smith, in your capacity as a counseling psychologist, an associate counseling psychologist, any comments? Because it's very disturbing.
A few comments. Just this week, well, in the past 2 weeks, I've been made aware of 2 young ladies who were abducted by taxis. One, the taxi man let her off as he was her praying, and miraculously, before he did any harm to her, he let her out. The other one, he had her for the entire day, and he raped her multiple times. I'm reminded of a docu-film that Love March Movement did to raise awareness about trafficking. And a young lady just stood up in Papine as a social experiment and just said to people, I have a taxi here, come. And persons walked freely into her taxi. So I'm so concerned that something so normative for people who have to take taxis, how can we improve the safety? How can we get persons more aware? I look at your research, Sir Paul, and I realize that Port Henderson, which is a trafficking hotspot, is located as one of the abducting areas. So, you're wondering how all of this is coming together and how can we improve safety for our young women?
I think this is all tied to, well, I don't want to be answering the question. Help us, sir, Mr. Bourne, remind us or tell us who is an abductee.
All right.
Define it for us.
It is any individual who's taken against his or her will. We need to understand clearly that there's a distinction between abduction and kidnapping. If a ransom is sought, it becomes kidnapping and not abduction. So if a ransom is not sought, it is abduction. So you're taken against your will without any form of ransom. That is abduction. If a ransom comes in, it becomes kidnapping. And those are really not the case in Jamaica, more so in Trinidad and Tobago for kidnapping. But Jamaica is a situation of abduction.
Now, is this all tied to human trafficking, Mr. Bourne?
I am presuming so, because I've done a study before on missing people. And we realize a number of persons that go missing. And it seems that not only persons, but females that are going missing, females that have been abducted. And what we have seen from the data is that if we don't find the person in about, say, 10 days, then they are gone. Gone in terms of death or gone in terms of just missing totally.
10 days is a long time.
It is, but that's the time we are seeing in terms of the data to find these individuals. 10 days. You have maximum of 10 days.
We are upon a break. Hold your thoughts, please. Listeners, stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counselling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the Telephone Counseling and Prayer Ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Love 101, the family station, invites you to Take Time Drive. You can hear reminders and tips on why you should take time drive. Take Time Drive, a bulletin of the road safety tips to help you keep safe and your head sound while driving. You only have one life. Drive it well. Take Time Drive on the family station, Love 101.
Oh, this is how we do it.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
Tasty cheese for every moment, this is the season. And there could be no other reason. One thing will bring the family and friends them closer. I must taste the cheese, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. One taste is all you need that you never let go. Tasty cheese, 1 in a million, you know how we go. Just can't get enough, I need more than one slice. Tasty cheese make all the moments then nice.
Easter's never the same without tasty cheese. So go ahead, share those special moments with Tasty Cheese, the cheese for every moment.
Ooh la la! I see what I want at the Phosphorus Super Sale, March 21 to 31, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Come get your wires, breakers, chandeliers, wall lamps, LED bulbs, and so much more. Shop in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. You can't afford to miss it. Come shop, come save at Phosphorus Super Sale, March 21 to 31. See you there at Phosphorus.
Reverend Dr. Kerry Dennis, deliverance practitioner and prophet from Tampa, Florida, will be setting the captives free on Good Friday, April 7, 7 p.m. at the Jamaica Theological Seminary, 14 to 16 West Avenue, Kingston 8. If you're sick, lame, can't walk, blind, Jesus will heal you. Bound by witchcraft, Jesus can set you free. Come believe in God, for whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Fun and cheese and refreshments will be served. Sponsored by Acts 222 Ministries of Tampa, Florida. For more information, visit www.kerrydennis.org.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch. The topic is abductions. Our guests are Stacey-Ann Smith and Paul Bourne. Mr. Bourne, just before the break, you did indicate that once the person is gone for about 10 days, we know that, it's sort of like D-Day. And I was saying that 10 days is too long, but that's what the data indicates you're saying, Mr. Bourne. I'm just wondering, although the data does say that, what do we do once we see a couple of hours have gone? Because, hours might even be too long. Mr. Bourne, any comments on that?
Absolutely, because what the police has been saying to person is that do not allow the matter to be 24 hours. As soon as the child does not get home, and you know exactly what the hour of the child is, begin your investigation in terms of handing over the matter to the police. So do not wait for 24 hours, because 24 hours is actually a day from the matter, and make it even more difficult for the police to actually find these individuals. So begin the process as soon as you think something is actually awry.
Okay, so concern is the matter in terms of so many females being affected. Again, I go back to the point in terms of the possibility of human trafficking. Is the data that you're looking at finding a link there, or not necessarily?
The data that we have does not speak to that. But what we are doing, we are somewhat deducing from what is actually going on in terms of using abduction and missing people to sort of see something is actually going on here, because a number of the cases, when they go beyond abduction or to missing, is that we are seeing that the persons are not returned. Say they are not returned and they are not dead. Where are they? They are somewhere. All right.
Yeah.
So we can deduce from the data
they
might
have been flown out of the country.
Absolutely. Based on the data, we can deduce that these things are happening, but they are mostly females.
Yes.
All right.
Or they might be in the country, but they're just hidden in plain sight.
Possibly as well. As well. But we need to be cautious of this, because I'm saying to persons, and despite the fact that people do not want to look at it, there's a natural difference in terms of muscular structure and strength of men compared to women. All right. So we take into consideration the fact that these persons are children, not yet developed. You can imagine a male who is actually developed and stronger than a female. You go into his or her car, go into his car, in this case, and you're actually taken away. You're taken away against your will. What sort of resistance can you do? So we are actually saying to parents that be careful of sending your children just like that out there without some form of protection. Have your children have enough phones, possibly a tracker on the phone. Go out and meet your child a part of the journey, but do not stay and wait for your children, particularly your female children, when they go to school.
And if I may, the age range for your research, the age range for your research is actually the prime age range for traffickers, because as one ex-trafficker said, the younger you get them, the younger quote-unquote shelf life, meaning they have multiple uses of this victim, because according to them, these victims are now merchandise. So again, looking at your data, even though we're not seeing that it's necessarily related to that, especially because some of them are released, so they're more victims of opportunity for rapists, which is a whole other thing we need to get into. The gender and the age range are prime age range and gender for trafficking, and abduction is a means of trafficking, is one of the means of trafficking in order to be able to get victims for the purpose of exploitation. So, even as the research is showing, we really need to take into consideration that those things could very well be happening as well, especially when I'm seeing, as I said before, one of your areas of increased or high level of cases is Backroad in Portmore. And according to the research from ONR-TIP, the Office of the National Trafficking in Persons, Backroad is a trafficking hotspot.
Okay. Now, the age range, Mr. Bourne, if you mind indicating to us what that age range is or might be.
Oh, the age range is from as low as 0 to a maximum of over 60. What we found is that
Mr. Bourne, little babies?
Oh, yes. 2.2% of abductions are children 0 to 9.
No. You said from 0. That includes a child who is under a year old?
From 0 to 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So we are seeing
sometimes when we hear of babies going missing, we need to be having an extra red flag up.
Absolutely. That's what we're providing person with the data now to say be careful of what your thing is. Because a number of persons are just casually going through their life without being aware of what is happening. And whereas when you look at the days in which these things are occurring, most of these things occur the start of a school week, the middle of the school week, and at the end of the school week.
Why do you think that is so? Or does the data say so, or the data doesn't say so? It simply says it happens on those days.
The data tells us when it happens. We wanted to find out the time and all of that, but I was not given that information by the police. So I presume the police is always giving me more and more information as time goes on.
Have you made any deductions as to why those days?
I don't. I have not, because it is startling to me as to why. Because I can understand on a Friday, because Friday is the end of the school week. So if you really want to possibly rape an individual, you're going to have to get access to the person. If you want to rape an individual, particularly a child, the best day technically would be close to the end of the school week. Because
don't say the best day, Mr. Bourne.
I'm looking at it from the perspective of the person who's going to be doing the abduction.
Okay. Right. Yes. All right.
Their best day.
Thank you, Mr. Bourne. Thank you. So, okay.
Their best day will be that.
Okay, Mr. Bourne. Understood. Understood, sir. Totally understand.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Bourne, what you're saying is that some of the persons doing these heinous things, some of them are doing it for some kind of sick pleasure because they want to violate the female. And some of them might be doing it because they're in the business of slavery, trafficking.
Absolutely. And what happens in Jamaica is not so much of a custom to this thing called abduction, all right? Because I remember when I was a child, it happened to my cousin, and my mother didn't take it for nothing much. And when the police was reported to the police, they said, "Chaman," you know what I mean? So a number of times, people do not take these situations seriously until it reaches a situation where death comes in, and they will say, "Oh, if we did know." So what we want to do is to provide information to our public to say, let us begin a careful examination of how we do things and how we allow our children just to go on the road arbitrarily.
What is so special about St. Catherine? Miss Smith, I don't know if you have any information to share there, or Mr. Bourne. Miss Smith, firstly.
I don't have any insight as to why. I mentioned the hotspot. I know that St. Catherine is one of our larger parishes. I know we have a thriving...
Well, that particular road you mentioned is in St. Catherine.
It is, as I was mentioning. So Back Road is a major trafficking hotspot. It also has, of course, a major commercial sex industry. One of the women who trained us tells us how she was back there working, how she actually was kept in a man's room in chains around her neck. So we work
in
with
chains around her neck, like a slave?
Like a dog, actually not a slave, but more like a dog, because he hides around her neck like she was a puppy.
On a leash.
He thought he was taking her from the life of traffic of sex industry, and he took her into a life of slavery and exploited her as a trafficking victim.
Okay, I know there's I know people make a distinction between slavery and trafficking, but that's another conversation. Mr. Bourne, why St. Catherine? In the time we have left,
it's a matter of easy access. When you look at Portmore, all right, it's a matter of easy access. On a number of the other places in Jamaica, you have particular terrain. So when we look at, say, for example, St. Catherine.
So when we are speaking about St. Catherine, we're sort of more zeroing down to Portmore. Is that what you're saying?
It's substantially Portmore, Old Harbour, that sort of side.
Oh,
right.
And Old Harbour.
Yeah. So what you're saying there is where there's access, where
is
people
it because
are.
Old Harbour has a Old Harbour Bay very close by? The Old
as I said before, it is really access to these individuals. Because in parishes where there is not that much access, it doesn't happen as much. So it has to be a matter of access.
I see. We are totally out of time. And this is a very concerning topic. I don't think it's going to go away. I want to thank you, Ms. Smith. I want to thank you, Mr. Bourne, for enlightening us to the realities of what is taking place out there. Very unpleasant and very ugly. And it needs to be stamped out. Mr. Bourne, I wish you all the success with your further studies in this area. And Ms. Smith, We know that you'll continue to counsel as best as you can. Thank you for your time and for your dedication to this area. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Bank Small Business Loans. Tell us your business and let's turn your ambitions into reality. The time by JN Bank Small Business Loans is
7:30.
Breast cancer is real. Cervical cancer is real. Heart attack and stroke are real. And so are pregnancy complications. As a woman, if you are hit with one of these critical illnesses or complications, your whole life can be turned upside down. Total Woman Insurance Plan gives you real insurance protection for up to 15 major critical illnesses, life insurance, and other benefits, including free cancer screening. Get serious about your coverage. Get real protection with Total Woman Insurance Plan from Sagicor Life.
Manchester Kite Festival and Family Fun Day comes alive Easter Monday, April 10th at Kurt Vine Sports Club, Manchester. Attractions, go-kart, bounce house, rock climbing, lots of games and surprises. Plus, we got free health checks. Admission, adults $1,000, children $700, toddlers free. Ticket outlets at Heavens, Fesco Mandeville, Fontana Pharmacy, first in linej8.com. Featuring Kevin Downswell, Little Kish, Flexible Suede, Tourist, hosted by Chrissy Entertainer Lawman. Come see a kite, no man. The best kite will win $50,000. Yes, $50,000. Food and refreshment will be on sale.
Many of our brothers and sisters lose hope when diagnosed with HIV. Some lose their will to continue being a part of society. Others are despaired by the challenges of keeping up with their treatment. We understand. But remember, people with HIV live normal and progressive lives every day. You can too if you get back on track with your HIV treatment. Live for you, live for someone, live for something.
Get back on track, get back to life.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what the Jamaicans and others are saying and the doing. We have in the Gleaner, Chief Education Officer urges teachers to choose Jamaica. We have in the Observer, NCB adjusts ABM network to ensure safety. And we turn to Loop, Jamaica News. A very light-hearted story here. KC, Edwin Allen tipped to defend champs titles. The 5-day track and field spectacle begins on Tuesday, that is today. And I did say light-hearted, but some of us take champs very seriously. So whichever way you look at it, whether light-hearted or seriously, those are the stories we have in our various news sources, among our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, what do you think is the role of the church in the call for reparations? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes too. 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. And of course, please send in those responses. Don't see the question, just leave it unanswered. Send a comment, send a voice note. We're looking forward to them. We'll be right back.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesday inside Alive, 1 to 5, March 28, packed with inspirational stories and island-flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the brain-testing Menticize, the Listener's Big Edition. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear part 2 of the life-changing testimony of the Hear from Muslim to Christian. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit with marriage officer, Justice of the Peace, and pastor of the Port Maria United Church, Reverend Donald Williams. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. March 28th with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One on the family station, Love 101, celebrating 30 years of music, family, and love.
Everybody feeling alive. Justice been feeling alive. Get your healing and come alive.
Love 101, the family station, invites you to Take Time Drive. You can hear reminders and tips on why you should take time drive. Take Time Drive, a bulletin of the road safety tips to help you keep safe and your head sound while driving. You only have one life. Drive it well. Take Time Drive on the family station, Love 101.
Oh, this is how we do it.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counselling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the Telephone Counseling and Prayer Ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We move right into the second watch. Now, when we talk about reparations, on most people's minds is a hope or expectation of cash or kind of great value. And some would argue, well, what of the gold mine? The value of repairing our minds to make or accept whatever reparations do come. Well, that is interesting. We have online today to discuss this Reverend Dr. Gordon Cowans, member of the Church's Reparations Action Forum, and Dr. Hilary Hickling, retired UWI lecturer and member of the United Church Reparations Task Force. Lady and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Now, Reverend Dr. Cowans, you're no stranger to the Morning Watch.
Hi, it's a great pleasure to be here. Good morning to you and to Dr. Hickling and to your listeners.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have Dr. Hickling with us this morning. Now, what is the Church's Reparations Action Forum? The abbreviation CRAF. Reverend Dr. Cowans, would you like to enlighten us with that?
Action Forum is a group of churchmen and women, clergy and lay people who have gathered together around the issue of reparations. And we need to remember that reparations is a response to the life we have lived. It's a response to an understanding of the legacies of slavery, the period of enslavement, which is part of the foundation of our lives as a society. So here in Jamaica, the Church's Reparations Action Forum has been in its embryonic stages for the last 3 or 4 years, and we are increasing our work now, and it is a ecumenical group representing a number of different denominations, and we are also working very closely with others in the Caribbean because we believe that action fora of this nature will be useful in individual territories, and together we will become the Church's Reparations Action Forum of the Caribbean.
Now, Reverend Dr. Cohen, some persons might say, look, we are dwelling too much on the past. We are dwelling too much on chattel slavery of old in this part of the world. We need to move on. what is this whole thing about reparations? Some might even say it's nonsense. How do you reply to that?
Well, I greatly appreciate you asking that question, because we know that that is the kind of question that is often in the minds of our people. And Dr. Hickling will have much to say about the psychological damage that we have suffered as a people. It would be pleasing to me if it would ever become simple just to say to ourselves, say to one another, say to our people, look, you need no convincing that you need to know your history, because one of the reasons for knowing your history is to ensure that you do not repeat, especially the aspects and the parts of your history which have been deleterious to your present and potentially for your future. The second thing is to remember that when we want to banish this idea of slavery as if, but that was such a long time ago, the legacies of slavery remain with us. And the societies that have developed over time, they don't disassociate themselves from their history. In fact, even the idea of lest we forget should teach us that when you try to forget, you actually deny part of the truth of yourself, and the liberation, the freedom into which we are to live is a freedom that you cannot access if you don't face our truth. We know that for some people, just the thought, just the word is a painful word. I wonder if we could help each other to get past that fear of facing the truth, that at the foundation of modern Jamaica is a colonial experience, which for many was a dreadful experience of enslavement of human beings to whom we are connected, even though they are now ancestors. We continue to be connected to them. So let's get past the issue of why don't we try harder to forget? Because in the attempt to forget, we have constantly been hurting ourselves.
And before we bring in Dr. Hickling, are we still talking about reparations in terms of strengthening institutions? What about cash in your hand?
Well, I don't know what in your hand business, or under your mattress.
No, I never said under the mattress. In your hand. Give me some money. Give me some money in my hand. Give me some money in my hand.
Very often when the word reparations is heard, this idea of, somebody standing on a street corner handing out or jingling in your pocket.
No. Send it to my bank account, Reverend Dr. Cowans. Send it to my account.
Yes. Sorry?
Send it to my account.
But even into your personal account, you see, this is the point too, that it is not just a matter of how to flash around some dollars. It really is about the business of repair. So in fact, as we continue this conversation, I wonder if we could remember that reparations and repair come from the same root. And what we are talking about, and I know that Dr. Hickling is talking about it too, is about how to repair our society. So when we talk about development, we're talking about the whole people in every sense, spiritual, material, psychological development, but not only of the individual. It is the repair of relationships, which include the repair of our families, the repair of our communities, the repair of our nation state.
Okay, Reverend Dr. Cowans, no money will be sent to my account. Dr. Hickling.
Well, no, don't worry about it, because let me tell you something. When we went together, we lift all.
I'll leave that one alone, sir. I'll leave that one alone.
Rising tide is going to lift all of us together. So don't worry yourself about some material benefit. When Jamaica becomes a better place, when we live better together, when we continue this work of repair together, then all of our lives are going to improve, and materially is one of the ways in which we are going to improve. That is what development is.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Hickling,
yes,
the role of the reparations movement. What is the role of this movement?
Okay, let me say that this is a very important morning for me, because For about 43 years, my late husband, a psychiatrist, with whom we discussed many things about understanding that we pass trauma from one generation to another.
Yes.
And there's something called epigenetics, which is, we're learning much more about it.
Yes.
That these sicknesses that we are displaying in our society have come because we have had several generations of this oppression, of the trauma that is helping us to kill each other at the moment, bleach our skin, feeling that we are less than other people.
Yes.
And doing a number of the things that are happening in Jamaica as we are speaking. And I think that this is really very important. A very learned psychiatrist colleague of ours used to say that Jamaica is not a very psychologically minded place. In other words, we're not making the connection between what we are doing and what we are thinking.
Yes.
And so those people who are deep in denial, and that's not only in our country, across the Americas, the people who are in denial, like the person who is the governor of the state of Florida, who believes that if you excise certain things from books and whatever, then it will go away. It doesn't go away, sir. It stays and festers.
Yes.
And in fact, it helps to destroy people of several generations to come. So one of the important things we have to do as we understand this history is to right the wrongs of history. That requires atonement. It requires acknowledgement. When we do something wrong, it's not only a legal matter, If I steal your cow, let us say, sir, then I owe you something because I have taken away something that belongs to you. If you steal people's lives, their history, and so on. I think Muta Baruka has a fabulous poem about give me back me. I don't remember all of the lines, and maybe a person like our interviewer will talk. Give me back the land and give me back the thing.
Yes.
Part of this reparation is returning to someone what you have taken. So here, what is one of the things that's happening? Many universities, in fact, many of the great universities, the Harvards, the so on, the Georgetown University, are acknowledging that they own slaves, they sold slaves, and that they have to make an atonement in 2023. Now,
Hold that thought 1 second. Dr. Hickling, if you could just hold that thought 1 second. We are going to take a very short break. Okay. Stay with us, listeners. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Active Home Center Home Refresh Sale is now on in our Kingston location only. You're going to be blown away by these prices. Up to 40% off selected tiles, bathroom fixtures, windows, doors, and countertops. Shop selected 18-inch ceramic floor tiles as low as $297 plus GCT. Hurry in! Sale ends Saturday, April 1. Visit us at 84 Constant Spring Road. Conditions apply. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Tell me where you get the money transfer. Alliance. Where you get the money transfer. Alliance. Where you get the money transfer. Money move like a bird, like a plane, it's a blur. Money quick, money fast, money reach in a flash. It's your agent no run out of cash.
This Easter, fly down to your nearest Alliance agent and get an Easter treat when you collect your MoneyGram money transfer. Happy Easter from Alliance.
Tell me where you get the money transfer.
Alliance. Share in the experience at Fontana Pharmacy. We have a wide variety of items in store just for you. Fill your prescriptions while you shop. And senior citizens enjoy 10% off. Shop household, cosmetics, toys, and many other departments. We also offer curbside pickup and delivery. Visit our website at fontanapharmacy.com. Fontana Pharmacy, where it's all good inside.
Jamaica, let us arrive alive. We know everyone has somewhere to be or someone to see. Whether you're going on a trip, headed to a party, running errands, getting gifts, or visiting family and friends. Arrive alive. Slow down. There's no rush. Look out for yourself and others. Don't let your life be a statistic. Too many Jamaicans are dying on our roads. So take time on the road. Arrive alive.
A message from the Office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. We are in the second watch. The topic is the church. Preparing minds in preparation for reparations. Our guests are Reverend Dr. Gordon Cowans and Dr. Hilary Hickling. Dr. Hickling, we're going to be continuing with you on your comments that you're making just before the break. But before you do that, you made a very interesting point about the governor of Florida, that's Ron DeSantis, and you made reference to the excising of certain contents from certain books, which I think you're making reference to critical race theory. Am I correct?
Yes. Not only that, with the resurgence of white supremacy, which is going on, particularly in the U.S. and some other parts of the Euro-American world, Britain no different, that what we're seeing is an effort to wipe out Black people. It sounds amazing, doesn't it, in 2023? And perhaps it's a very difficult thing for young persons like you to understand. You see, I'm wondering, and I don't really know, the efforts by by people like Hitler to wipe out Germans physically also happened in history. So there are.
Let me go to the question because I just because of limited time.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No problem. I totally understand what you're talking about. I keep abreast of a lot of things, but what some persons have argued about critical race theory is that it is not balanced. It is teaching persons to hate white people and to hate their own country, namely the United States of America. Any comments on that?
Absolutely. A country which had slavery up till what was it? It was 1865 that the U.S. had its slavery abolished.
Well, it was Abraham Lincoln. I can't remember the exact year, but it was Abe Lincoln, President Lincoln, who made it go away, who under his regime that it was abolished. And it was around that time. I can double check the year, but go ahead.
Yes. Part of it is that you're recognizing that for many African Americans, in the last 6 generations, there are people whose ancestors were enslaved. And also they were slaveholders. That America, that experiment in America is yet full of unresolved issues. And that is why we can see some of these kinds of things happening today, because they have not been dealt with. You see? And with all of the great America, if you had one drop of Black blood, you were Black. And, you know, things like lynchings and so on. Those things have really not gone away, you know. But because
I just checked the year. Dr. Hickling, December 18th, 1865. That was when the 13th Amendment was adopted, officially abolishing slavery in the United States of America. Yes.
Okay. And so you also have a country like Brazil, in which it was in the 1870s that slavery was abolished. So it's very recent that you are saying that I cannot own you and your children by law, but by practice, because there were people who were enriching themselves out of this slavery up till this late in this last century. There are people who have been beneficiaries by various generations. So how do we repair these human breaches is the question. Yeah. Now the Jews found ways of ensuring that there were all kinds of reparations because of the countries that murdered and so on and so on and so on Jews. As people from different parts of the African continent, we still are working some of these things. And I want to give you some examples about the church. Some of the churches also own slaves. So I'm going to use something from outside of Jamaica because sometimes we get so het up. Georgetown University has now acknowledged in the United States that they sold slaves in order to do something. They are therefore having to acknowledge, atone, repair, because what they're having to do now is to help to provide a higher quality education for some of the people whose ancestors were sold. So this is what Georgetown University is doing. No, there are many parts of the world in which I think the Dutch president has acknowledged that our prime minister that there is something. But in Jamaica, we're having a lot of problems, and I was thrilled to see that Appleton Estate.
What problems are we having in Jamaica? Let's zero in on that a bit, Dr. Hickling.
Okay. So, what are the problems we're having? I want to bring one to your attention. The fact is that for generations after slavery, people have had to leave the country to make a living.
Yes.
Because they couldn't make a living in Jamaica.
Yes.
And when they were building like the Panama Canal, to which my own grandfather went, and I'm sure you can know of people, the governor of the country of Jamaica and also the governor of Barbados was dissuading people from going. But the people went anyway, because I wrote a thesis as a very mature student in which I used the phrase, Mr. Hungry was riding a grey horse and White Squall was on the land. Meaning there were a lot of hungry Jamaicans. And there are still hungry Jamaicans who are sending home remittances, living in the most appalling conditions in the United Kingdom, in the United States, and Canada. Because if you pass through the US Embassy this morning, and if you go to the passport office, you will see Jamaicans who are trying to flee the country because they can't make a living. Now, that is
and what's the connection now to this matter of reparations?
A very direct connection, in fact.
1 second, Mr. Reverend Cowans, just if you allow Dr. Hickling to complete your thought.
Okay, no, let me say that Reverend Dr. Cowans and I have been speaking for about 35 years about some of these.
Okay.
So one of the important things is when you impoverish a country because the resources are being sent abroad.
Yes.
Because that's what happened during the time of the slave possession, you know. The people who were making the money took the money to Bristol and to London and to other countries.
Yes.
It left Jamaica impoverished. I am told, I don't have the figures in front of me, but you can find it. When Jamaica got its so-called independence, there was very little in the kitty. There was only a little resources. And remember, Jamaica was a country built upon plunder. It was not a place where the British came and set up institutions. It was a place where you ripped the place off, you pillaged and plundered, and then you took the money and spent it in Britain. So we are still having, you remember, the schools that were established, the hospitals that were not established, the inadequate infrastructure, and most importantly, a mental state of...
So what I think you're trying to say, Dr. Hickling, and I'm only jumping in because of time, if Jamaica had been built up to the proper state it ought to have been, no one would have to flee Jamaica for economic reasons to work overseas.
Exactly that, sir. Exactly.
Okay.
So the fact that more than half of our people are living...
Very loud and clear.
Yes, they can't live. They can't live in the country. They're saying, I can't make a living. Teachers who can't...
Teachers leaving, nurses leaving.
Yes, and they've been leaving for decades. And we won't admit it.
Yes.
There's something wrong with a country in which so many of its people have to go away to make a living.
Yes.
So that is one issue.
The Reverend Dr. Cowans, in the second or two we have left, any final comment before we wrap today?
I'm so glad for the link, and that is the link that I wanted to then say that it is not by surprise that the Church's Reparations Action Forum is actually visiting the UK in June this year as a part of the commemoration of the 75th year of the Windrush. And Dr. Hickling has helped to make that connection very, very clearly. And well, I just hope your listeners hear that the migration link, the legacies of slavery continue for as long as an underdeveloped society is the society in which we live because of the depletion of our resources. And while we worry too much really about not remembering
unfortunately, Reverend Dr. Cowans and Dr. Hickling, only because of time we have to leave it there today, but very, very interesting indeed. I want to thank the both of you for being with us in this second watch, and we need to hear more about this matter. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, our listeners, for being with us, and continue to remain with us. tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for the discussion of topical and controversial issues. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all the other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the family station, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests, I am Stokeley Marshall, handing back to Love in the Morning with Jakal.
Thank you. Let us live, love, and respect the lives of others. A safer and more peaceful